Welcome to the end of the world, survivors. You're tuned in to the station, one of the last voices on the airwaves. I'm Harper, or as I've come to call myself, DJ Clueless, broadcasting from a radio station that somehow still hums with life. I'm no longer alone, but the work of growing food and establishing contact with others is endless. This is where we fight back, where we build back up again. I'll be your guide through the madness, sharing the locations of safe havens, theories and information about our new world, and the occasional existential crisis that comes with a zompocalypse. The world's gone dark, the dead outnumber the living, but many have started to rebuild some of what we've lost. The only real question is, what's next? Stick around if you're still alive. Welcome, survivors. This is DJ Clueless, also known as Harper, coming at you from Still on the Road. Yes. We have picked up Crissy's family. She had warned us that there were people who were, giving off a bad vibe, basically. And we thought that we had handled the situation. I don't know if anybody tuned in last week, but what happened was we came across basically these 4 women being held captive, and we rescued them and took out the bad guys, so we thought, but some of the people we took in weren't actually victims, they were helping the perpetrators. And so Crissy and Micah both were like, no, we get bad vibes off of them. And I was like, well, until they do something, and this is me being stupid, until they do something, we're going to have to just assume that they are victims in shock. I just didn't feel good about leaving them when they looked kind of completely helpless, which was an act, and I fell for it. And yes, I have apologized to Crissy and Micah all over myself, just to let them both know that I know better in the zombie apocalypse world. In the zombie apocalypse world, when somebody has a feeling, you should listen to it, because as is going on, all of us have had dreams that have been prophetic, and not all of us in the zombie apocalypse, because I haven't met all of you, but all of the ones traveling with this group, most of the station, a lot of the plant. When you have a feeling or a bad vibe, when you don't listen to it, it comes true, basically. And you're like, this is going to be a bad situation, you leave the situation, and if you don't leave, it turns into a bad situation. So the smart thing that we did do is we had people stay up at night kind of patrolling, which we do anyway because zombies. But we didn't tell the newcomers about it. We didn't let them know how many people were doing it. We didn't let them know what the rotation was. As far as they knew, some people just occasionally had insomnia, which was good. Because before we even got to the river, they tried to steal the horses, steal the food supplies. And here's the thing, guys. If they had just gone back to the station with us, there's plenty of horses, there's plenty of food supplies, and we're not going to run out of food. That's not something that's going to happen for us, because of the way we have things set up, and some of the different extras that we've all been given. We're not running out of food. So stealing food from us is the height of stupidity, because, okay, what are you going to do when that food runs out? Steal it from somebody else? So you're just going to constantly steal from others until you steal so much from somebody that they start dying off, and eventually you have no food. Whereas if you just work with everyone else in helping make the food, you have food forever. So, like, the stealing versus cooperation, I don't get. And it also strikes me that stealing the food is a lot more work. It's a lot more effort. It's a lot more dangerous because, not to make this the Old West, but we don't allow horse thieves basically to live. Um, and I know that sounds harsh, but the horses are like our family. The horses are our friends. So I would be overreacting that much too if it were a dog or a cat. The animals that we take care of, that we spend every day with, that make our lives easier and help us, don't get to be stolen by somebody who may or may not treat them well. We don't know. We don't know you. So, anyway, a lot of people in the zombie apocalypse have become very proficient with guns, with hanging out in a tree with a rifle and a scope. So we had at least one or two of those people hanging out in trees, and we had one or two people who was just kind of patrolling down on the ground because, again, ankle biters are a problem. We have the crawlers, and you don't really see them until they're almost upon you. Sometimes you can hear them, sometimes they moan, but sometimes they don't. So, regardless, having somebody on the ground who maybe has a flashlight and really reinforced boots. Shoes are a big, big thing as far as I'm concerned. Like, flip flops are going to get you killed. And if all you have are flip flops, you wear what you have. But the zombie apocalypse is basically OSHA rules, no open toed sandals, no. And a lot of our people have basically like steel toed boots and things like that, where even a zombie human jaw is going to have a hard time biting through it. Um, because getting bitten on the foot is a big one. That's how a lot of people go. And so, yeah, we definitely were taking care of ankle biters at the time. I was awake, and I don't know that Crissy and Micah slept much. So I'm pretty sure they were awake anyway, but once we heard the horses yelling, and that's probably an exaggeration, when everybody's asleep, a horse making even a little bit of a noise tends to wake us all up because, again, we've had so many people try to steal our horses. At this point, it's getting a little ridiculous. It's like, come on, guys, there's horses everywhere. Like, anyway. But, a lot of people died and left their horses. And we are in rural Missouri. Before that, we were in rural Illinois. You throw a rock, you're going to find a horse. I mean, if you look at any of the farmhouses, horse barns are pretty frequent as far as where we go. Like, we've made frequent stops where we stay in a farmhouse and have the horses in a horse barn. So, anyway, we were not in that situation. We were actually full on camping, and we have decent tents, and tents are another one where we have some disagreements. Some of us want to sleep in tents because just having the extra protection between you and whatever else is out there gives you a few more seconds to wake up and react. Whereas other people cannot. And I don't even mean this as it's not an option for them to sleep in a tent, because if they can't wake up and see what's going on, they don't feel safe. So some people were in tents, some people were not. I was walking around, and Micah was walking the Shih Tzu, so she and I were talking, and we could. It's so hard to explain. We could hear people being quiet, you know, the hushed whispers, and that happens at night when people are sleeping. But this goes back to, I guess, a vibe check. Uh, it felt like stealthy quiet as opposed to let's not wake up anybody quiet. You know, it felt furtive. Like, anyway. So we heard the horses, we heard the stealthy quiet, and Micah basically walked the dog back, and I motioned to some of the other guards, and we went to where we had the horses. And the thing is, guys, we never leave the horses alone. So the person who was with the horses is always armed. I mean, we're all armed. There are zombies everywhere. Of course, we're all armed, which is the other reason. Which is the other reason why it seems so weird to me that somebody would try this. Like, anyway, so we go, and Micah basically left the dog and came back with Crissy, Mac, and Brett. So we had plenty of people because I had a few of my people. And then, where we have the snipers in the trees, they can see where we're sleeping as well as the horses. That way they have an ability to give good coverage to everything. So we have hand signals, and I signaled the snipers that something was up so that they were aware, and got the flashlight in response because they can see me, I can't see them. So they'll flash the flashlight on, so it just kind of goes bloop bloop, and I know that they understood what I said. And we get there as they have pulled a gun on our horse guardian, who does not want me to share their name. So I try to talk them down because I'm still in the not quite as violent, but Negan mindset of no, people are resources and we need those resources. So I'm asking them, I was like, okay, so what's your plan here, guys? And they did not want to talk. They wanted to fight. I said, what's your plan here, guys? And the woman whipped around, and I moved out of the way, but she did pull the trigger, and it hit the tree behind me. But like as she whirled around, I just ducked. And so did everybody else. Like, I gotta tell you guys, Chrissy's family, they are fighters. They are fighters, and they are in tune. I don't know what special powers, if any, they have, but I definitely feel like they were given a healthy dose of Spider-Man spider sense. Danger coming, duck, because they all ducked. So the shot went off, and then a few more shots went off, and the sniper took out her and two of the people she was with, and that was about it. And it was over pretty quickly. Now, the adrenaline was not over pretty quickly. Me feeling like a fool for trusting them, even though Crissy and Micah were telling me up one side and down the other that they didn't. Felt stupid about that. So I didn't sleep again, because we try to make it to where no one's up all night, because being too tired is a disadvantage. And, when your brain isn't working right because you're exhausted, you're not reacting as quickly. You're not noticing things as quickly. You're not picking up on things as quickly. And it can get you killed. And, we're very much against people getting killed, unless they try to steal our horses. And they knew that we had plenty of food. They knew that if they came back with us, that there were plenty of horses, and more than likely they'd be given horses to ride regularly. If people want to ride horses, we try to train them up on taking care of them. Because, you ride the horse, but then you have to take care of the horse's needs also. And that forms a bond with the horse where you and the horse know each other very well and you trust each other, usually. So, we'd explained all of that. We'd explained that we had plenty of food and how. So, honestly, I don't get it. I do not get it. And we don't run into this very often. The majority of the time, what we run into is people who are desperate and starving, and you give them some place with a hot shower, potable water, plenty of food, and, for lack of a better way of phrasing this, a vehicle, because, we're either going to give you a bicycle or a horse. I don't know what the hell your problem is if you're just trying to steal from us. Like, are you just that diehard of a thief? Do you just hate other people that much? And here's the thing, it would have definitely slowed us down and hurt us if they took our horses. There's a part of me that's like, I lived in the world before, and shooting someone for trying to steal your horses would be considered a vastly huge overreaction. But one of the women had joked about eating horse meat a few nights before, and none of us laughed. And another one had said that we'd be able to go faster if we didn't give the horses so many breaks. So yeah, they don't get to steal my horses. And I should say our horses, but I consider the horses mine, just like I consider the station mine. But so do all of the people who live there. We all have ownership of the horses. We all have ownership of the station. We all have ownership of the food. It's ours. And so it's ours. That means it's mine. That means I protect it. So anyway, Crissy and Micah just wouldn't even hear my apologies, and I was apologizing all over myself. And they were like, "No, no, no, we get it, we get it." Without knowing the situation, it's hard to judge. And I was like, "Well, I would like to sit down with you all sometime when we have time, and I would like you to let me know when things feel off between now and then. If you get an off feeling about anything, just let me know." And they agreed to that and were very, very nice. And her son Brett is rapidly becoming one of the best, I would say, snipers we have. I think because one of our snipers is about his age, pretty cute, and they struck up a friendship, and so he's learning from one of the best, and it's really kind of fun to watch because he has this protective streak with his family, and being able to be in a tree looking over and watching over them seems to just please him to no end. So he's becoming a pretty good fighter, or sniper, I should say. And I've talked with Crissy and Micah about that, going, "Are you guys okay with this?" Blah blah blah. And they're like, "Well, there's not a lot we can do. If that's what he wants to do, we're going to support him." Um, but we all kind of realize that there is no safety in the dark. There is no safety on the road. And, there's more safety at the station, but safety's an illusion. It always has been. When I was younger, I watched a lot of murder mysteries on TV. And, with a lot of murder mysteries, poison is a huge thing. So I had this huge fear of poison and almost a phobia of it. And at one point, my dad sat me down and he was like, "I'm going to tell you a story about this man who was afraid of dying." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "So he went outside once and was about to cross the street, and a car came barreling out of nowhere. And, it really scared him. And he realized if I crossed the street, I could die. And so he stopped crossing the street. And, then he went inside and watched on the news how a lot of different people die a lot of different ways." My dad was more coherent with the story. I was 5. I don't remember all the details. And he became convinced that if he left his house, he would die, either in a car accident or through violence or just random accidents. And so he stayed home in bed all day. And by, an earthquake happened, and the ceiling collapsed in on him and killed him in bed. And I was 5. I did not know how to parse this particular story. Luckily, my dad was very good about telling me the moral of the story. And what he said is, if you live in fear, you're going to die anyway, and you'll have spent your whole life hiding. If you spend your whole life hiding, we are all mortal. One of the things we all have in common is we are all going to die. And believe it or not, that helped. That helped quite a bit because, yep, there's a million different things out there that can kill you, a million different ways to die, and about 1 million more than we had back when the world was a world. And so I'm trying very, very hard to embrace the fact that there is no safety in the zombie apocalypse. And every time I feel like I have embraced that fact, that I have really understood it and adopted it and taken it on as my own, I realize, nope, you sure haven't. And this was one of those cases where I was like, okay, all right. I have not really understood the assignment very well. Not just zombies, not just starvation, not just bad water can kill you, but other people can too. And they're happy to try. And I think part of my never ending ire against Violet is she knew what we were building here. And she wanted to set it on fire instead of being a part of something bigger than herself, you know? I just don't get stealing when we have plenty. And if you stayed, you'd have plenty. I don't get trying to take horses when we were going to give you some. Like, it almost feels like a commitment to thievery. And I don't I don't understand why you would steal when you could own. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But one of the things that I have realized even before the zombie apocalypse is people are nuts. People are absolutely batshit crazy. And that has not changed. It has only gotten more intense and a little bit worse in the zombie apocalypse. People are crazier than they were before. People really seem to be more unhinged. And that's understandable. We have all lost everything. We have all lost our entire world. Um, I don't know anyone who hasn't lost family members. Like Crissy, Micah, Mark, Brent, Sophie, even they have lost family members when it seems like their family's intact. Everybody at the station has a tragic story of loss. We are all, I would say post traumatic stress, but the traumas keep coming. So I guess we're all just in traumatic stress constantly. So to me, being with each other, working as a group, banding together helps fight that. It helps stave off the depression and the panic attacks and the anxiety and all of that because you're not going through it alone. When you know that other people are right there with you, it is so much easier to face the horrors. And the horrors do keep coming. They do. We don't really go a day very often without seeing a zombie or two. And it is horrifying to see humans reduced to being flesh-eating puppets, basically. Um, so anyway, we left the bodies out very prominently for the vultures because there are vultures in Missouri just like there are in Illinois. And they're our buddies. So the vulture population, by the way, is soaring. Pun intended. Because there's plenty of food to eat. I've even seen them land on actual zombies and just have their fill. The ankle biters do have their own common enemies. And the vultures are definitely enemies of the ankle biters or crawlers or whatever you want to call them. So, if we have a chance to feed them, we're going to. But it slowed us down. It slowed us down because it woke everybody up. We made a lot of noise. So, we basically decided to break camp and leave as quickly as we could because once you start shooting, eventually zombies show up. And that's okay. We usually can get away from the zombies, or we are someplace fortified enough to get away from the zombies. This was one of the few nights where we were all too tired to go on to the farmhouse we normally stay at. So, since many of us had taken this route before with the same horses, we just decided we would pack everything up. It was maybe an hour before dawn. So, packed everything up in record time, um, and got out of there just as a fast zombie showed up. And God bless Brett. Brett just took that guy out. um, and the rest of us, we got on our horses and we left. We were lucky that there was only one fast zombie, but we got out of there on the horses before the rest showed up, and we made it to the farmhouse we normally stay at, where they have an actual horse barn. We took the horses in, made sure they were well fed and well taken care of and everything like that. And we decided that we were going to rest for a day or two. We were just going to take a day or two here, rest, let everybody sleep enough, let, the horses rest, um, because we were all pretty strung out. Um, we, killing humans is different than killing zombies. With the zombies, you feel like you are helping a soul rest in peace. You feel like you are releasing someone from a prison they did not deserve to be put into. But with an actual person, even if you aren't the one that pulls the trigger, it's a little more emotionally devastating, because most humans are not built to do that. There's a reason why we had basic training for our soldiers, because they had to be trained to get over the human inclination to not want to hurt another human. So none of us have that military training, and so we all took it pretty hard, just like we take it pretty hard every single time, except for the guys who compared themselves to vultures. If that guy can control zombies, I feel no guilt in, you know, he's going to do what he needs to do to destroy the rest of humanity because he's got a god complex. No, thank you. No, thank you. Don't feel guilty about that. When it's a sociopathic situation, I also feel like you're putting a soul out of its misery, even if that soul doesn't know it's a misery. So, anyway, we are still not back to the station yet. But one of the nice things about this farmhouse is Malcolm has outfitted it with excellent communication. So we were able to check in and talk with them. They have not had any zombie problems since we left. There's just a couple zombies that kind of wander around in the neighborhood. And we let them, because when we kill them, more show up. So we've just sort of allowed those to be our neighborhood zombies. They're shufflers, so even if you're not on a horse or on a bicycle, you can basically get out of their way quicker than they can get to you. Because again, there's one or two, so the Z terror is not a factor. So anyway, we are going to take a day or two here. We're going to eat 3 meals a day. We are going to sleep as much as we want to. And then we're going to continue the rest of our journey. I have a tendency to want to get to places very, very quickly. It's like, oh, let's hurry and get Crissy. Let's hurry and get back home. When, in all honesty, there's no reason for us to be rushing. So, because this kind of killed morale, honestly. Anytime it's human on human violence, morale takes a big hit, because fundamentally we're trying to save as many humans as we possibly can. And when other humans make that an impossible task, it's fairly devastating for all of us. So anyway, but we survived it. We have Crissy's entire family and her adorable dog. We have picked up more people, because again, it wasn't the whole group that we rescued that was bad. And, those people were basically still working through the drugs in their system they'd been given. So, when you're drugged on a sedative that kind of keeps you docile and not moving, you're not as observant because it's almost like being trapped in your own skull. At least that's how one of them described it to me. So anyway, we all survived. No one has gotten bit. All of the horses are okay. And we're just going to take a little bit of time here. We're going to take a little time to rest, recuperate, and then we're going to head back home. But basically, none of us wanted to spend the day crossing the river on the raft. I say raft, it's not really. It's more, you can fit a couple horses and a few people on it. So it's sturdier than a raft, but it is still not as solid as a bridge would be. So at least that's where we are. We've had some talks of trying to just spend the rest of our trip finding a bridge that is still intact. But Priya and Queenie want to be part of that search because they have some skills that might help if there's a partial bridge, fix the bridge. So at any rate, we are safe. We are actually having a nice time because it's beautiful fall weather, and this farm, I think, at one point either grew pumpkins or threw pumpkins into a compost because there are pumpkins growing out just about everywhere in their field. So we have, of course, harvested them, and one of the things we have done there is roasted the pumpkin and condensed it and taken all of the seeds and dried them for eating because, food's food. And it's been very, very nice. It's been a nice little reprieve, a nice little rest during our journeys. And, we've been in contact with Malcolm. We've been in contact with Priya and Queenie. Both of them have offered to send people to, make our group bigger and escort us, help us find a bridge, basically, or escort us to finding a bridge, because a bridge would help Malcolm's people too. So yeah, lots and lots going on. As per usual, survive, survive, survive. And man, don't steal anybody's horses. It's not cool. This is Harper signing off for now. Remember, the world is still turning, even if it feels like we're standing still. Survive, adapt, endure. As the dust settles, we are rising again. We are rebuilding from the ashes. Until then, keep moving, keep fighting, and whatever you do, survive.